Hello and welcome to Everything Groovy and Esoteric with Frankie from Frankie's Tarot. Today we're going to take a look at affirmations and why they're so important to manifest in. And I'll also dive into Byron Katie and her work with the work. And so I'll give you an example of that today as well. Stay tuned. I read through your questions. I read through everything and I kind of formulated what I wanted to talk about today. And I see that a lot of people talking about affirmations and talking about unwanted thoughts, right? And that's what I'm always trying to focus on is those unwanted thoughts, those things that come up for us, those repetitive on loop thoughts that we have that are formulating our experience, that our thoughts create our reality. And I can no longer dance around Byron Katie. I've known about her for a couple years. She's come in and out of my life. And when I first got into manifesting, I fell in love with Neville Goddard because Neville Goddard was clear, precise. It felt easy to do. It was easy for me to go, I can disconnect from these thoughts and I can focus on what I want. It just seemed nice and practical. And it's a good start. It's a good founding start. It's a good place that I found for me to start was Neville Goddard. And then I started going into more, understanding even more so the law of attraction with that, because you get the law of assumption with Neville Goddard, and then you have the law of attraction. And so as you're exploring this mindset and this new way of thinking, you're going to come across, you're going to land in certain places on your journey. And there's no new knowledge, first of all. There's no new knowledge. There's only different paint strokes and people paint pictures different ways so that we can get the message out there for people to understand. And so that's really all you're seeing when you go to different coaches or different videos and you hear all the different ways people are doing things. It's just creative ways with the old knowledge. That's all it is. But what happens, I think, when you first walk through the doorway of manifesting and you hear things like affirmation, change your story, all this other stuff like that, like it seems like it's just surface level. It seems like, okay, this is easy to do, just got to do this, da 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 da. And it works for a lot of things. And which is why everybody's like, you don't have to do the work, you don't have to do all this stuff. They're just like, use affirmations, manifest, keep going. But you always hit a roadblock. And it usually comes when you have a really, heavy story around a situation and you can't manifest something in. And this is where I kept dancing around Byron Katie because she takes you in and she makes you look at what the real story is that's going on in your mind. And that real story that's going on in your mind is your affirmation. That is where your affirmation derives from. This self-talk, these self-doubts, the way we, our fears, our anxieties. And when we don't confront that, and sometimes at first it doesn't make any sense to, it doesn't seem like you just want to get shit done and you want to manifest. But when you're up against a wall and you keep coming up with these repetitive thoughts, these thoughts are showing you that you're not getting to the root of it. All right. So doing affirmations. So let me take a step back. Affirmations, what are they? Affirmations, they are corny. When you first look at them, you're like, oh, I'm adored, I'm cherished, I'm queen, I'm goddess, I'm God, and I'm safe and peaceful and secure everywhere I go. And you're just like, who the hell says these things? I don't say these things to myself. They sound corny, right? And, but the thing is that more so, these phrases are there because you're actually saying to yourself the opposite of those sayings, and you may or may not realize it. All right. So the affirmations sound corny, but it's easy for everybody to go, "Oh, okay, I'll look at that and just all day long. I'm loved, I'm loved, I'm wanted, I'm wanted, I'm wanted." And you don't realize that you're actually reprogramming the thoughts that you have going on deep within your self-talk. And so these affirmations aren't necessarily just magical words that, like, if I just say I'm wanted, I'm gonna be wanted by them. You're saying thoughts to impress on your subconscious mind so that your subconscious mind will start to play that story instead of the one that it's playing. And so at first, you don't need to know what you're doing. You're just doing it because, okay, Neville says do it. So I'm affirming. So I'm going to affirm. But it's just a trick. It's a trick way to get you to stop sabotaging yourself, stop talking to yourself, stop criticizing yourself, stop beating yourself up. And so, but when you get to a point and you're like, all right, I've been doing this for a year, I've been doing this for a week, I've been doing this for, 10 years, and I keep coming up against, I'm still dealing with this, I'm still dealing with that. It's because there's a story that, and it could be a deep one, and it's there, and it's not going anywhere until you decide to face it. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to walk into all your traumas to find the root of these stories, because they repeat themselves in every relationship you have or everything that you manifest. There's only so many ways we feel, we stress. There's only so many things that create stress in our life and everywhere. So it doesn't matter whether you really, really focus in on like that, say you can't. Find a situation where you're up against that makes you unhappy and look at that situation, and you'll still get to the root of the trauma of everything else, because there's only so many things that cause stress in our lives. I'm talking about affirmations because it does come into, I want to practice one time today. Whether you want to or not, you don't have to. I've been doing a lot of this work. Byron Katie, it's retrograde, snuck back into my life. And she snuck back into my life a year and a half ago when I was going through Kundalini yoga school. And I'm a soldier. I can just delete yesterday and move forward. I don't need to know the root. And she came back around again. And when I decided to actually look at a situation, I looked at the situation and I looked at myself and I was like, wow, I carried a burden for so long, not realizing that I was the one who I was pointing fingers at. And this work is not about shaming yourself. This work is not about me blaming myself. Has nothing, that is the furthest from this work. This work is about freeing yourself so that you can take a look at how we both showed up in every situation that we were in and what we expected in that moment, and what we expected in that moment that we did not get, like a child. We took that reaction, we took that emotion, and we carried that emotion for as long as till now, for some of them. And every time you are in front of another human being who triggers you, that will come up, and you see this person through that lens of the same lens that when it originally happened. So this person has no chance until you take a look at you, get to the bottom of it, and figure out what it is you're projecting so that you can figure out what your affirmations really might need to be. So we all have the umbrella ones. You know, I want to feel desired. I want to feel wanted. I want to feel chosen. Maybe some of you, it's easy for you in love relationships, so you don't have those, right? Maybe for you, it's like love comes easy for me. I don't need that one. Maybe money doesn't, you know, but we all have certain stories, things that we, you know, the umbrella ones, you know, I always get what I want. The universe is always working out for me. I'm wanted, I'm desired, I'm confident. You know, we can come up with all these things because they'll cover a good amount of your negative self-talk, so that you can help reprogram, and then you can start empowering yourself and feeling more positive. So it's positive thinking, right? It's the way to get yourself out of a mood. We all can do it. But then there comes that pit in your stomach that's still always sitting there. And when you are down in the dumps, or you are having a low vibrational day, you've been sick, you feel a little bit more depressed today, that's when these thoughts are going to come in, and they are just going to, they're there. Say hi. Thanks for showing up again, because I'm sick and you know this is the best way to get me. Because all they're doing is showing you that you're still thinking these thoughts. And you may come up against this again in the future. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. Some stories are what are old, some habits are old habits are hard to die. It's the same thing. So when we look at triggers, if we can look at triggers as a way of embracing them, in a sense of, I'm not afraid of triggers. I like my triggers because it reminds me that I still have some work to do. And it answers kind of a question too that somebody had asked, and I'll go through the list of questions, but somebody had said, how do you know when you've affirmed enough? When you've affirmed enough, you'll know, because there'll be no doubt. And when you put your affirmations down, say you think you're ready to let go, and you're ready to wait for it, you're surrendering, not waiting, you're surrendering, and your desire is going to show up. What usually happens is you get anxious. You start to look in the 3D reality. You start to question your faith again. And so it doesn't feel like your manifestation's solid again. But what's really happening is there's a story still trying to creep up that says something, and it's going to be something different for each and every one of us. So I did put the questions in the beginning here, and I will go through the questions with you guys, because if you wanted to just pick one thing, I would like to explain to you using my own. This is the work by Byron Katie. This is the work that says, pick out the moment, pick out who's pissing you off right now. What's the story going on in your head? What keeps going on in your head? All right. I did post the 6 questions in the chat room if you wanted to jump ahead and take a look, and then I would work through if you want at the end. If 1 or 2 of you want to do that, really, if you are in the energy and you have a piece of paper, a pen, and you want to look at the 5 questions I put up there, keep it simple and work through one situation. Write it down, and at the end of this, when I'm going through the questions with everybody, I will go through a scenario with you and see if we can get to what is looping in your head and why. Remember, this is new for me. I asked Spirit, I was like, why are you making me, why is she creeping around in my neighborhood again? And, and I was like, I may not be ready to do all this for you guys, but I can't fight Spirit, and here I am. So for many of you, these thoughts are debilitating, and they're really holding you back from what it is you really want to achieve. And so this is something, and I know, this worksheet, these questions I got from you, they're free on her website. So I know she isn't mad at me for taking it and coming over here and doing this with you, right? So I know she wants as many people to have this worksheet as possible. But I'm gonna, if you would like, I worked through the questions myself just to kind of give you an idea of how these questions work in order for you to get to what's really, really bothering you. Okay. So I chose a story. I did this. Now, this is a story that I've reconciled with. Okay. So I am pulling up a true story. I'll go through it quickly and I'll show you how this worksheet, because I did it with the worksheet just to see, but I already knew all the answers because I've worked on this before. All right. And so the first question says, who confused, hurts, saddens, or disappoints you and why? And my response to this was my ex-husband. I am angry with him. I was angry for a long time. So remember, I'm looking at it like it's still happening. I'm angry with him. He's a coward. He left all the responsibility on me. And so I'm angry. He's a coward. That was my answer to the first question. The second question is, in this situation, how do you want him or her to change? How do you want them to show up for you? My response, I want him to be a man and step up. All right. So I don't have to feel responsible or guilty for every mistake or problem our kids deal with. Right? This was my way of thinking. The third question, in this situation, what advice would you offer? Now we're offering advice. He should give me more credit. He should always give me more credit. Everything he says or does seems to be, there's got to be a way to always give me some sort of credit, right? And of course I wasn't acting like that, but this is what was going on inside. Even though it didn't come up apparently, it was what's going on inside. All right, so I expected him to do that. All right. In order for you to be happy, question 4. In order for you to be happy in this situation, what do you need him or her to think, say, feel, or do? And in order to be happy, I need them to acknowledge my courage and my strength. I need them to acknowledge my courage and my strength at all times. I was, because I know the work, guys, when I'm answering these questions, I had to be honest with myself, even though I've already worked through a lot of this stuff. It's hard when you write it down and you look at it. The 5th question says, what do you think of him or her in this situation? If you can put yourself back into the situation that happened to you and you're meditating on that situation in that moment, what do you think of him or her in the situation? And make a list of everything you think about the person in that moment. And if I put myself back in the moment when it all happened, I was scared. I was angry, frustrated. I thought they were, I can think of a coward always came up, coward, a loser for doing, I mean, this is back when it initially happened. What's wrong with you? Are you mentally ill? You know, are you crazy? What the hell are you doing? You're fucked up. What's going on? Right? So these are all the judgments I placed on him during the moment when everything happened. So the turnaround to all this, now, once you answer these questions and see how simple I kept it, all 5, simple. The turnaround comes when you start asking the questions. When you start asking yourself questions regarding the things that you're looping your mind around, you're going to feel such a sense of freedom when you really ask yourself, is all this true? Is this true? And when you question your thoughts, and you'll notice your anxiety go from here to here to here. Even if you feel like some of it is true, you'll know whether you really believe it's true or not. And this is how you figure it out. Because most of the time we're carrying thoughts that aren't true at all. We thought they were true because of the mode we were in, the responses we were having, but were they actually true? And this is where the work's going to happen with you, is when you can now focus on the person that you're mad at, go into the situation that you were in with them when it happened and how mad you were, look at your first question. And with me, I'm angry with Eric because he was a coward. Is this true? Is this true? Was he a coward? No, he's not a coward. I don't believe he was a coward. I do not believe single cell in my body that man is a coward. I never have. But I kept that thought for a long time. One of the strongest men I know showed up in a way that was undesirable, didn't meet my needs in the moment. As hard as that is to say, we had kids, we had everything falling apart, we had a business, we had everything, and everything was falling, and I cracked. He's not a coward. That is not true. So right there, that statement can go away. I'm angry. That is true. I'm angry. All right. And as you go through this list and you ask these questions, can you be absolutely sure that this is true? How do you react? Here's the big one. Now you're sitting in the situation and some of you might be saying, no, it is true. He was a coward. How does that make you feel? And how do you react to that situation? That reaction is what you're carrying now in every situation that you're in. But in that reaction is where you're going to get the source of what's really going on. What's going on with you at the time? How were you seeing things at the time? And you continue down the list. All right. Who or what would you be without the thought? Can you look at yourself in that situation? And if you can take that thought that you were thinking and like, I'm angry with Eric because he was a coward. How would I feel right now? Or how would I have felt in the moment if I didn't believe that was true? No, he's not a coward. No, he's not a coward. I would have been able to see the situation differently. And I maybe would have been able to see that he was under a lot of stress and the whole world was caving in on him. But I did not care because in my eyes, the whole world was caving on me and the kids. But really, it's all about me. Even though I'm Mama Bear, you got to take the mask first. Not easy to deal with when you look at what's really happening in your situations. Everything comes down to you and what you want, and are your needs being met, and what expectations did you put on another person and they didn't follow through. Look at it this way, another way. Dad goes to work every day, comes home at 5. You meet him at the door every day since you were a little girl. All of a sudden, one day, he doesn't show up. And then maybe 3 hours later, he shows up. But as a little girl, you don't know any difference, but you just feel like he did something to you. Why didn't he show up? Now, forever, you have this like anxiety or nervousness running to the door, making sure he's going to be there because he changed something. He changed something. He might have been just staying at the office late. Right? But as a little girl, you might be thinking, oh my God, now I can't trust. And now you need dad to always be there when he says he's going to be there. Because it's uncomfortable for you. Not that person. It's uncomfortable for you. And you don't want to be uncomfortable. And so as long as another person isn't making you comfortable, you're going to keep projecting what's really going on onto them. And half the time, they don't even know what the hell they're doing wrong. These are just expectations that you place on other people. The other thing to do is to go down your list and with every question, and ask yourself again, is this true? I want him to be a man and step up. Is this true? Yeah. Yes. I want him to be a man and step up. I wanted him to step up. All right. I don't want to feel responsible or guilty for every mistake or problems that our children may have because of this. But is this true? Is this true that I'm responsible, or I'm going to be responsible? Or am I just projecting more of these things onto my person? The third one, he should give me more credit. He should give me more credit, meet my needs. So whenever we're talking in a family function and we bring up the past, I carry the guilt, shame, whatever, my own traumas, my own shit. And yet when somebody brings up something that went wrong, I always get defensive. And I'm like, but that happened because you weren't there. I had to do it myself. And I don't even give him a break. We don't always have to go back to that. Can I let go of he should give me more credit? Leave the friggin' guy alone. In order to be happy, I need him to acknowledge my courage and strength. Why? Is that true? In order for me to be happy, I need him to validate me and acknowledge my courage and strength. Now, the biggest part is the judgments I placed on him. I think he's an ass. I think he's a coward. I think he's sucking as a dad. This is not what a dad would do. I think he's in his own head, his own ego, and he forgets reality, and he's selfish. And the best part about this process is looking at the other parts of how we flip this. Now we're going to flip this on Frankie. We're going to flip this on me. I'm angry with Eric. I'm angry with me because I was a coward. I didn't know what to do in that moment, and I placed everything on him. I didn't own up to what I was doing wrong. And this isn't about blaming me or shaming me, because this is trauma. Trauma happens, and we don't know how we're going to react in trauma. But this is how I reacted in trauma, and I fell apart. So who was the coward? If I would have looked at me first during that time, or had the tools to look at myself during that time, I may have saw that my ex-husband had a mental illness at the time. But I didn't see it. It didn't matter. It was ruining my world, ruining me. I want him to be a man and step up. I want to be a woman and I want to step up. I need to be the woman and step up. But yet I'm yelling at somebody else, I want you to be the man and I want you to step up. And at that point, that man needed, not that they would have made a difference, but I needed to step up. Did I step up? Yes, guys. I stepped up and I ran. I did. And that's where you get I want to be appreciated and I want to be acknowledged for my courage because I came and saved the day. And yet throughout this entire time, all I did was carry these stories because everybody, and I had to do this, right? I wasn't wearing this on the outside, guys, but this was what was going on deep down inside. He should give me more credit. I should give myself more credit. Nobody else needs to give me credit. I need to give myself credit. I did it. I did it. And I didn't need to tear anybody else down or around me. I should give myself credit. In order to be happy, I need to acknowledge my own courage and strength. I am strong as shit. So if you knew the story and you were doing this in your own work, your own head, right now, I feel how strong I am. I know how fucking strong I am because of all that I've been through. But when I can get to the root and I can feel that, I should give me more credit. I should acknowledge how courageous and strong I am. There is an inner gut feeling that says you know it. So when people are saying affirm and they're going, "Oh, you're strong, you've got willpower, strength, you're courageous, you're confident." To some of you, you might be going, "Yeah, I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying that until I believe it." And it works to a point. But when you get yourself to drop into where the wound was and you can really feel how strong you really were, you'll stop doubting your strength. And you'll stop saying, "I can't do this" more often. Because you have identified and you have now felt that strength within you. And so affirming doesn't feel like you're just throwing a bunch of words out there. You're remembering who you are, which is why it's so important to do this work. And it doesn't land with everybody. Like I said, I danced around this. You saw, I explained it. It's hard to face reality. And this is not meant to shame anybody or make you look at yourself and say it was your fault. None of it was our fault. That's the whole, it happened. But how we responded to it is our responsibility. I don't deserve the traumas I've had in my life, and I never will say any of us did. But if I had the tools and knew my partner, understood what was going on with me and how I reacted, I would have created less suffering throughout my life. And that's all that this work is meant to do, is to free you of those thoughts of suffering. So I think here's the fun one. Here's the fun one. Now I'm going to place myself in these words here. I think he's an ass. I think I'm an ass. I always think he always thinks he's right. I always think I'm right. Always. He ignores emotions and he forgets the current reality. Guilty. I ignore emotions and try to ignore everything. And this is why law of assumption was easy for me. He forgets the reality and how it still affects everyone today. I'm the one that's doing that. I'm the one that's doing that. And there's more to that. So I'm not going to get too much in that because I can go off on that, right? But the last question that I didn't hit was, what do you think of him or her? Or make a list. Okay, what was the last one? What is it about this person and situation that you don't ever want to experience again? This is powerful. And then I'll end it here. I never want to be dimmed again because of him. I felt undermined. I felt shoved down. It was always about him. And I felt dimmed because of him. But I dimmed myself. He did not dim me. And so now I carry this story of people try to dim my light. People try to tuck me down and step on me. And that's a story that is holding me back. I'm holding me back. Nobody's dimming my light but me. Because everything we do to other people, everything we say other people are doing, we're chipping away at our own soul. I'm dimming my own light with all these thoughts. And So now I know my affirmations. I have new I mean, I've done a lot of this work before, guys. So I was trying to go back in and work with something that, but I also know that I'm strong, courageous, and I'm the only one that can dim my light. No one else can dim my light. But you see how I got to that realization. Now you all might get to something totally different. Start with somebody who's on your mind right now and put yourself into this place. And at this point, you'll have a deeper understanding to why you're choosing affirmations. What is it you're really doing? How you're trying to reprogram your mind. But when you get to the truth and you really sit with it and you get to the truth of what really happened in that moment, there's a sense of surrender and release that happens. You can't blame anybody anymore. And lastly, you're not trying to blame yourself either. But you let a story go and then you open yourself up for more possibilities. And let's go. Was that helpful for anybody? Like I said, today was my first go. It was brought to my table. It was like Byron was talking to me and was like, this is it. Like you've got to bring it to the table, and I've thought about like doing an inquiry once a month or something. People come in with their situation, filling out the worksheet, and us walking through it. If you wanted to walk through it with me, we could do like a webinar or something. I mean, I have ideas about it. So people can actually sit with what's really going on, because these ruminated, unwanted thoughts that you're having are stemming from those types of situations that's happened in your life. And when you're trying to do the work, but you keep getting stuck, every time you keep getting stuck, you keep getting up against the wall, it might be because it's a big, huge red flag saying you're not digging deeper. You're not really taking a look at it, or it's time for you to go a little deeper. Maybe you've been doing things for so much. Like for me, it was Neville Goddard. He was simple. He was, oh, I can do this. I can manifest, I can affirm, and you can do it that way. But the thing that it just keeps happening is that people keep coming up against roadblocks that don't seem to go away, and they can be very frustrating. And when you don't get your manifestation, or you get a partial manifestation, it triggers you, and you go back like 10 miles, right? And then you think you're starting completely over, and you're not starting over, because this is going to happen again. And I may have something trigger me in the future, and I may find that it stems from this same scenario that I thought I already got over. We don't know how things are going to always show up for us. So when we start looking at triggers as friends and always just ask, is this true? That's if there's anything that you walk away with today, because obviously today was kind of let me feel it out and see how I explain this type of day. If there's one thing that you can remember, is when you get triggered, ask yourself, is this true? Is this really happening? Is this true? Oh, they're blocking me. They don't want to talk to me. All right. Is this true? And if you get a yes, they're blocking you. They don't want to talk to you. All right. There's going to be a lot of realization. There's going to be a lot of realization here. And with the blocked thing, usually the realization people have is that you're being disrespectful. And it's hard for people to grasp that. People block people. They usually block because they're saying, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I want to move on. But you're not listening to me, and you're putting yourself first, and you keep coming at me, and you won't honor that I blocked you. And so you're saying this person's being disrespectful to you. You're saying this person's an asshole. You're saying this person, whatever. But if you flip it around, you're the one being disrespectful. You're the one being an asshole. And you're the one that's not honoring another person, regardless of the situation. We all have rights. And if we don't honor other people's rights, I mean, who the hell are we? We can't make people do things for us. They did not sign up on this planet just to make us happy. Because in the moment, we're dealing with some inner turmoil, and they need to do what we say because we need them to make us feel better. And that's where the work comes in. You need yourself to feel better. And so it's not about shaming. It's not about blaming. And it's not about pointing fingers and trying to make you cry or trigger you. Because everything that I talk about up here, I've experienced in one form or another. So nobody is free of there's only so many things that can create stress in all our lives, and we're all the same. You're me, I'm you. I've experienced the same shit, different scenarios. So it doesn't matter if you had a gun to your head and I just got, thrown, right? We both were scared shitless. Right? We all experience the same things, just different scenarios. There's only so many things. So there's no up here sitting there going, well, take a look at yourself because you're disrespectful. None of it. When I look at my list and I realize how angry I've been at people and how much anger I've repressed, I'm an asshole. And I'm not mad at myself for saying that. Like I cried a little bit and then I laughed and then I'm like, damn, I'm a douche that I keep, and we all can be. And it's just about honoring that and making better choices when you're in a situation and you get triggered. Is it true? And can you actually absolutely confirm that what you're believing in the moment is true? And if you can, this is the other thing that comes up. That person is an asshole. That person physically hurts me or hurts me emotionally, and they will not stop. You're trying to fix somebody. You're trying to change somebody who won't change and who does not have to for you. You want somebody to change for you. And that's the hard part of it too. But I love that you don't love them. Because if we're looking at somebody and we're angry, picture yourself looking at that person that won't change for you. Every time you look at them, you're disgusted, you're mad, you're furious. They hurt me. They did this. They won't do that. But you keep staying. They won't do that. They won't change for me, right? You have your own issues with feeling needed. You want to feel needed. You want to fix other people. You want to feel important. So you stay for those reasons. But we'll look at the other person like it's their fault. And it's really, you're just trying to, instead of looking at yourself, you're trying to change another person. And that in itself is why we don't try to change the 3D reality when we're manifesting. You don't change people. You change your thoughts. You change your beliefs. You change how you perceive the situation. If you can remember that nobody's here to just please us. And when we sign up in marriages, for some of us that still want to be married and things like that. But that doesn't mean that anybody's entitled to do things for you. If somebody's doing things for you out of the kindness of their heart because they love you, then that's a gift. But we get to a point, I have, where you expect it. And if I'm married, I deserve this. I get this. I should have this. But when it's taken away from you, you can't be angry because they can't give it to you anymore. They gave it to you while they could, and now they can't anymore, or now they don't want to anymore, and you have to honor that. Okay, I got it for a long run. It was nice. Thank you for all those things you gave to me. But now that you're taking them away from me, I can't be mad at you for not wanting to give me your services anymore. I have to give them to myself again until maybe I meet somebody else and maybe they're willing to give me those services. It sounds transactional, but it's really not when you look at each other as valuable like that. You want to be valued, you've got to value your person too. You come together, the temperance, you balance each other out, but you don't just take and demand and then, it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way. But we all get caught up in those in that way, okay? So